U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro here in Washington, D.C., responding to allegations the D.C. crime data was manipulated by the outgoing police chief, Pamela Smith. That claim coming from a new House Oversight Committee report. Our congressional correspondent Bill Malugin with the latest on Capitol Hill. Bill?
Well, John, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee say their investigation concluded that this outgoing D.C. police chief was trying to make the city seem a whole lot safer than it really was, and she was doing it by allegedly cooking the books on crime statistics. So the Republicans...
She's cooking the books. Surprise, surprise, the books are cooked everywhere, guys. Seattle, California, L.A., out there, New York, Baltimore. All these major cities have been cooking the books, I would say probably Obama's time. We just saw a huge influx of it around COVID. See, you can't have riots that go crazy in 2020. People rioting. Remember the summer of love? And they just calmed down and went back into their houses and everything went back to being normal, right? Just calm down. They just calmed down and went back into their houses. The whip came out. And it went back in. And everything's peace and lovely. That is the lie. 2020 reshaped the face of Metro Atlanta. Some people we don't frequent Buckhead in some of these places that we used to frequent at the level we used to frequent them. It changed the face of places like Times Square, New York, Baltimore. That stuff didn't just go away. See, they have always been, I keep saying they lie, because if I can tell you that I'm making change in the city and I've got this political position, look, the numbers are down, reelect me. Look, the numbers are down. I'm doing a great job as the chief of police, as whoever. Nah, the mayor, I'm doing a great job. I'm bringing the numbers down. Y'all put them in the office.
On the committee say their investigation consisted of interviewing 7 different D.C. Metro police commanders who represent all of the patrol districts out here. That included a former commander who's currently suspended for allegedly tampering with crime stats in his own district. And these are some of the conclusions they've made in their report. Number 1, they allege that D.C. Metro Police Chief Pamela Smith pressured commanders to report lower crime stats by any means necessary. Commanders testified that Chief Smith pushed them to pursue lesser charges that aren't publicly reported, even for serious crimes, and she also required certain crimes to be reviewed by her office. In a statement on this report,
Wow. Testified that the chief pushed them to pursue lesser charges that aren't publicly reported. So that means somebody breaks into your house, commits a violent offense. We just call it loitering. It's insane, man. It's insane. All of this stuff rolls into your real estate. All this stuff rolls into our businesses that are in the area. All this is things like this is the reason why it's hard to get flagship companies to hold down a unit or a building in these high crime areas. Because you're lying that there's no crime. And I know I look at crime statistics. If I used to do that working for a security company. I mean, I could pinpoint where I needed to go in order to sell them a system when I worked for corporate security. But at the same time, if you're looking for a house, don't you want to know that you are not in a high crime area? All of this has an effect. To be deceived and to think that this has nothing to do with real estate. There's no holistic approach. I've had clients not want to move the areas because of the crime. I've had clients sell in areas because of the crime. But if that information isn't out there, you can't really make a change in your municipality, in your city, in your on those blocks, you can't change anything with fake and fraudulent data because there's nothing to change now. We don't know where the issue is. We can't put the resources and the money in the places they need to be put. We can't do that because we don't know that it has an issue to begin with. And that's the issue. When you're lied to, it affects your pocketbook, it affects where you raise your family, and it affects how you sell your home. It affects where data providers build too. Shoot, bro. They need to. I don't know how you can lie on these documents and not have some type of charge or and you walk away with a slap on the wrist. That's what's going to happen with her. She'll get a slap on the wrist.
Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says in part, quote, Chief Pamela Smith coerced staff to report artificially low crime data and cultivated a culture of fear to achieve her agenda. Chief Smith's decision to mislead the public by manipulating crime stats is dangerous and undermines trust in both local leadership and law enforcement. Meanwhile, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser was asked to respond to the House Oversight Committee Republicans' findings earlier this morning. Take a listen.
I don't see any evidence of that. If the claim is, and I don't think anybody has demonstrated that the police chief directed anybody to change numbers. When the committee provides me their backup information, which they haven't, when the committee provided the report to the Washington Post before they provided it to us, highly unusual when you're talking about an audit of numbers.
And John, just moments ago, the U.S. Attorney here in D.C., Jeanine Pirro, responded to this report. She put out a statement on X, which essentially says that, yes, these crime stats were manipulated, and the manipulation of that data shows that President Trump has reduced crime here in D.C. a whole lot more than initially thought. She went on to say that what happened here with the crime stats does not rise to the level of any criminal charges or a crime, but that the D.C. Police Department has to change their practices moving forward.
I disagree with that because when you sit back and you look at, if you're reporting a violent offense as not being a violent offense, what about the person that it was committed against? They should have some recourse, criminal recourse, something in order to hold the person who committed that violence offense accountable. We can't get that to happen when you report that it was just a mugging when it was a rape. When you report that it was just a purse snapping, somebody just grabbed her purse and ran when she was either shot or stabbed. Somebody's a victim. Just like they try to say there was, somebody's a victim. Somebody's a victim. Somebody's a victim. Somebody's a victim. So it may not be a criminal. You like, well, we can't hold them criminal liability. Yes, they can. I'm sure somebody stood back and went through some type of traumatic issue, through some crime that happened, whether it's home invasion, and they reported it as a lesser offense. I would be pissed. I would be mad. I would be mad. How can I hold this person accountable and take them to court? How can I even have the police know that they will arrest them when the police is looking at that stabbing as being a minor offense? And you can't tell me it's no criminal issues. It doesn't affect anybody. That's a lie. It affects people. They just don't want to take responsibility for their actions. That's it.